You ever wonder what would happen if you put a Porsche Panamera on a boil wash? Nah, me neither. But Ora have. The Ora Lightning Cat. So this is the Ora Lightning Cat, or as it's currently being referred to in Europe, the next cat. It will probably have a different name when it's launched properly. But you may know that Ora have a bit of a cat theme going on. They have the funky cat in Europe, and in China they've got the good cat, the black cat, the white cat, the ballet cat, the punk cat, and the lightning cat. This is very much their area. They consider it to be a feminine name, and it's very much a feminine oriented brand. You can tell that by the gently sculpted, very swoopy shape you've got here, diamond patterns here in the headlamp and in the lower area of the grille. It's an electric car, of course, so only a small grille, but it's got a very sort of teardrop shaped design that swoops all the way down to the back here. Looks a little bit like a hippo sat on a Volkswagen Beetle, or alternatively a Porsche Panamera designed for Grand Theft Auto. Here we have our Salvador Dali designed Alfa Romeo Pepper Pot alloy wheels. They're not really designed by Salvador Dali, but if he designed alloy wheels, I think this is what he would go for. 19 inch, you can get 18 inch on a smaller version. And yeah, it's kind of cool. It's also kind of weird. Anyway, let's have a look at the back. From the rear, you can see that really long, elongated roof line. There's actually a large panoramic window that comes all the way down to here, just above an automatic spoiler. Because we've got such a swoopy fastback profile at the back here, we have to be wary of lift, which is why this spoiler will come up at a certain speed, or you can set it to be up there permanently as well. We also get quite chunky rear haunches, I do like those, and we've got rounded triangular tail lamps as well. We also get a foot operated boot lid, which is great. Downside is we don't get the biggest boot opening space, so it's actually quite shallow, fairly narrow because of these arms here. I've got no figures on the litres of how much space is in there, but I would say maybe 1.5 to 2 28-inch suitcases at max. Also, we do get 40/60 folding rear seats, so you do get extra practicality and a little bit more space under the back end as well. But not the most practical trunk on this thing. However, I mean, that's kind of a sacrifice you make for a design as distinctive as this. Now, let's go and check out the inside. Now, as I mentioned outside, Ora are very much targeting females with this car, and some of those features are certainly quite obvious inside. The first one is the steering wheel, which is very, very skinny. Presumably they think that ladies have dainty hands and struggle to hold on to normal steering wheels, so that is quite interesting. With that, you notice that straight away. You also, of course, get a big mirror up here with a vanity light in there as well, and this is the best part. You get a little tray in this central cubby divided up for your makeup, so you can put your little mirror in there, some blusher, lipstick, some eyeshadow. I love how unashamedly female targeted this car is. It's quite funny. Elsewhere we get quite a bit of physical switch gear, so we get some on the dashboard here, some toggles and rotational dials. These are not the most secure in the world, but I mean they're adequate, but again not as good as they could be. Get a lot of physical buttons on the steering wheel as well, so 5 on each side and toggles, plus a sport button here which you can press to immediately get into sport mode as well. We get a few screens as well, a heads-up display, not the biggest in the world, but certainly clear enough. A 10.25-inch display here, divided into binnacles to make it look a bit more retro. That's okay. And a 12.3-inch screen here, which is running on Snapdragon, not 8155, so it's not the fastest in the world, but it's adequate. Annoyingly though, on the maps, you can't rotate it to put north as your bearing point, which is a little bit irritating. Overall, a very interesting interior design. A little bit schizophrenic in terms of the colours and materials. We've got the sort of mostly tan leather all over the place, and the leather is fine. We've also got chrome up here, then we've got gold on the upper surface and around the binnacles, and sort of a black suede up there as well. So there's a lot going on. Certainly does feel very female oriented. These chairs are quite good actually. They're one-piece chairs, they look good, and they're very, very good bolsters here at the side. Again, presumably to try and keep the slimmer ladies' bodies under control, but they do help the car feel a bit more sporty. And they also get heating, ventilation and massage on here as well. You get optional heating in the back. You get a lot of space, so the door pockets are fairly big, bit of space behind the dashboard, more space under that tray in there. One cup holder, so you don't have to fight over that, and a wireless charger here. Your phone can just slide into there, and a glove box as well. We also get an 11 speaker Harman Infinity sound system. Not the best sound system in the world, I would say. It doesn't feel quite as, certainly the bass level is not particularly high. If you like bassy music, these speakers are not going to be for you, but they are an adequate sound system. They do a decent job. But overall, quite interesting interior, very unique, I would say, very feminine. But I actually tried it out with some football guys, and they quite like this car. They actually like it more than the Funky Cat, which I thought they would, like the hatchback style better. But there you go. Chinese do like to have a more sedan, swoopy, coupe shape, I guess. Anyway, let's check out the back seats. Now, as we get into the back, you'll see that the space is a little bit more limited because of that coupe style roofline. So the front chair is in the welcome position, which means it's as far back and as low as it will go. So foot space is a little tight there. If they sit higher up, I'll have a bit more foot space, and a bit further forward, they'll have a bit more knee room as well. But the headroom is, as you can see, my hair is quite close to this panoramic roof, and it is warm in here. There are no sun blinds, so you can't block the sun out, which is going to be a bit of a miss on hot days, I think. It's not that bad though. I mean, there's quite a bit more space on that side of the car. You've also got these quite cool little vents down here, these sort of eyeball style vents. I do like those, and they do feel sort of metallic to the touch. 2 USB sockets, bit of pocketry on the back of the chair and the door, and we get an armrest as well with a couple of cup holders. We get more cup holders than they do in the front, which is nice. One thing I would recommend though, make sure this headrest is down, otherwise you can't see anything out the back window. Now, the Lightning isn't only lightning by name, it's also lightning by nature. It's bloody quick. That's even in the single motor edition, which we've got, which is front wheel drive, 150 kilowatts, about 201 horsepower and 340 newton meters of torque. And if you press the sport mode button, yeah, it even gives you engine noises to go along with it as well. It is super rapid. It's really quick. I mean, I don't have any 0 to 100 km/h times. They don't exist. But I would hazard a guess that it's definitely under 5 seconds, even in this version. If you compare that to the dual motor version, that one may well even be under 4 seconds, because that one's got the same 150 kilowatts, but on the back axle as well. So 300 kilowatts, about 402 horsepower and 680 newton meters of torque. It's bloody quick. Now, the downside is that with it being a front wheel drive motor version, you do get quite a bit of torque steer, so you can feel the front wheels scrabbling around a bit, but I wouldn't say it's actually that bad. I mean, it handles the power pretty well, and I quite like the steering actually. It's fairly well weighted. It does feel quite direct. It doesn't feel quite as anonymous, let's say, as some other Chinese cars. It does feel like it's actually doing something when you're steering the wheels. So I like it. It's quite fun to drive. The handling is very nice. The acceleration is ridiculous. I'll take it back off sport mode again now. It's great, actually. The performance is probably my favourite part about it. Now, you get two choices of battery on the Lightning. So we have the standard range battery with the single motor. That gets us 555 kilometers on the CLTC cycle. So probably about 333, about that range in reality. And the long range battery on the single motor version will get you up to 705 kilometers of CLTC range. Again, not bad actually. It's about 650 if you translate that to the dual motor edition. Pretty good range, and it will also charge from 30 to 80% in just under 30 minutes according to Great Wall, which is quite convenient if you do need to get an extra 250 kilometers. Takes you about half an hour. Not bad at all. We're riding on Great Wall's Lemon platform, and that's not me calling it a bad platform. That's actually the name of it. And actually, it's not a lemon. It is a good platform. It's a dedicated electrical architecture. Also sits under a few other models from Great Wall, such as the Way models. And I would say it's quite accomplished. The ride quality is good. Obviously no air suspension or anything like that, but we've been on some pretty choppy surfaces and it's gobbled them all up, no problem at all. Obviously not amazing, but it's not terrible. I would think you wouldn't have any massive issues with the ride quality of this. And as I said, the only real problem is the front wheel drive. Just gives you a little bit of torque steer, but other than that, I would say it's a fairly accomplished platform, quite good, and the handling is also quite nice. Stays fairly level, does feel reasonably sporty actually for a front wheel drive car. But I mean, it's hard not to feel sporty when you've got 201 horsepower gushing through the front wheels. Anyway, mentioned earlier that I don't really know who the Lightning Cat is up against. There are no other cars really in this category that fit. As I said, the CLA is too small, the CLS is too big. They're both probably from a premium level slightly higher than that of the Ora. So I don't really know who we're up against. But in terms of dimensions, we are 4.87 meters long, pretty much, about 1.86 meters wide, so fairly slim, and 1.5 meters tall, so fairly sleek in all dimensions, I would say. And the wheelbase is 2.87 meters long, which actually is only just a little bit shorter than that on the Panamera, even though the Panamera is about 20 centimeters longer, something like that. But yeah, I don't know who we're competing against with this car. I think it's basically got a category all to itself at the moment. I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Hopefully helps them with sales. Prices for the Lightning are actually pretty competitive too. The base version, which is a single motor version with the standard range battery and a couple less features than you get on the other versions, starts at 189,800 RMB, which is just £21,700. Here in China at least, it will probably be more expensive by the time it gets to the UK. The question is how much more. The most expensive version, which is the dual motor performance edition, that one is 269,800 RMB here in China, or about £31,000. Again, not that bad actually, but again, who is it competing against? It's hard to judge the price when you don't know who you're competing against or what you're competing against. But I don't think that's too bad. I think you get a pretty well-equipped car for that. You do have to pay about 6,000 RMB for the Salvador Dali styled 19-inch alloy wheels that we have on our car. And this paint, which I think is called Sky Amethyst or something like that, this has a purple colour, that is a 5,000 RMB option, probably about £600 roughly, something like that. Now there are no fancy sensors on this car, no LiDAR, anything like that, but you do get some level of semi-autonomous driving. So you activate it by pulling down on this stalk here, and it will give you lane centering assist, adaptive cruise control, also indicator prompted overtakes, and it will also drive you around corners as well. You do have to keep your hands on the wheel because of course that's the law, but it's a pretty good system in practice. It works quite well. It's also got anti-collision warning, even at slow speeds when you're about to hit a small picket fence or something like that. What I would say is it can be a bit aggressive. I was in traffic doing about 5 to 10 kilometers per hour, about 10 feet behind the car in front, just a little tiny bit of acceleration on, and the car slammed on really hard, and it did it again 5 minutes later, seemingly anticipating an accident that wasn't going to happen. I'm not sure why it did that, and neither did the guy behind me. Was also wondering what the hell was going on. And at that point, I then had to figure out how to get the automatic brake off, because it had then put the automatic brake on as well. So a little bit of a pain. But no, on the whole, the system is pretty good. And overall, it's a pretty good car to drive. Great performance, good steering, fun car. So that's it for our review of the Lightning Cat. And honestly, this thing is lightning. Performance is excellent, moves like a cat on a hot tin roof, even in single motor form. Can't say I'm a big fan of the looks. A little bit gawpy, a little bit awkward for my liking, but some people will like it. And if you're looking for a saloon, but something with maybe more character, something more unique, can't go wrong with this car. Great interior, great materials, very unique, very interesting and retro styled. It's got great performance, good autonomous tech, fairly patchy build quality, but if that's what you're looking for, this car may well be for you. And let us know in the comments, if you're a guy or a girl, whether you like this car more. I would love to see who likes this car more, if it's more female or male oriented. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you subscribe, thank you for subscribing, and we'll see you next time.